New tonight, another push to make you safer on a notoriously dangerous stretch of roadway. Route 210, or Indian Head Highway in Prince George's County, is a long, flat straightaway. And as News 4's Jackie Benson reports, now drivers often reach high and deadly speeds.
AAA says this is arguably one of the worst stretches of road in the entire D.C. area.
Approximately 7 hours, they were able to stop 49 vehicles. This is during the daylight hours. Of those 49 vehicles, one vehicle was doing 100 miles an hour. The average speed, Doctor, as you mentioned, was 78.
Acting Prince George's County Police District 7 Commander Jim Coletti describes just one day of enhanced enforcement on just 10 miles of Route 210 Indian Head Highway. That stretch of road has claimed 6 lives this year. That is despite county police writing more than 3,300 traffic citations, most of them for speeding.
We've got Mothers Against Drunk Driving for intoxicated driving. We've got Noah's Law that's been passed. We got nothing for speeding.
Residents of Fort Washington and surrounding communities gathered to advocate for safety improvements on the road, which has been the scene of 47 fatal crashes since 2007, according to the Maryland Highway Safety Office. Reverend Tierney Screen has been called upon more than once to comfort the families of victims.
It is not an easy thing to deal with. It's the devastation, the sense of loss, and then the suddenness of it is unbearable to the families.
Now, this is a state highway, but thanks to a nearly decade-old memorandum of agreement with Maryland State Police, they don't patrol here. Organizers want that to change. In Prince George's County, Jackie Benson, News 4.
Well, anguish tonight for a Maryland mother after the death of her daughter on one of Maryland's most dangerous roads. The young woman killed at an intersection near Indian Head Highway. Her mother tells us she was on her way to a job interview.
Just last night, we picked out what she was going to wear, and she left out this morning. I should have just took her. I should have took her. I should have took her.
Tracy Wilkins is live tonight at the scene of the accident in Fort Washington. Tracy, we are hearing more calls for change tonight there, aren't we?
Absolutely. Prince George's County Police have been focused on the Indian Head Highway for more than a year, passing out thousands of tickets to people who are violating laws on this road. People who live here also are committed to some change here on Indian Head Highway. But when we're here talking about someone dying at an intersection like this one, it brings very relief to the mother who's lost.
The dangers on this road, I see it all the time. I live right there, and I see it all the time.
Yasmin Duncan lives close enough to the intersection of Kirby Hill Road and Indian Head Highway to see what happens here.
So many car accidents, so many fatalities.
But she never thought her own daughter would be a victim.
Oh, she left out early this morning. I didn't even get a chance to hug her.
Police say 24-year-old Samira Jenkins was killed while walking in the crosswalk of Indian Head Highway. Police are investigating if she had the right-of-way. The driver stayed on the scene. Jenkins was on her way to a job interview.
Just last night, we picked out what she was going to wear, and she left out this morning. I should have just took her.
AAA calls Indian Head Highway the deadliest road in the D.C. region. Since 2007, AAA reports there have been 48 fatal crashes on Indian Head Highway, 61 deaths. Today's fatality is the first this year.
People don't, I think they feel they have the right to speed, you know.
Ron Weiss is one of many residents advocating for a speed camera along 210. The proposed legislation recently passed from the Maryland House to the Senate in Annapolis.
It's very difficult for pedestrians to cross Indian Head Highway, and many of the nearly 60 deaths on Indian Head in the last 10 years have been pedestrians.
For mothers like Yasmin Duncan who have lost their own, a change can't come soon enough.
I'll never get my daughter back.
Prince George's County Police say Jenkins made it across to the northbound lanes when she was struck. She was walking inside the crosswalk. The question is now if she had the right-of-way. It's going to take a long time for Prince George's County Police to wrap up this investigation before they can even begin to discuss the possibility of any charges in this case. Reporting live, I'm Tracy Wilkins. Back to you all in the studio.
What a sad story, and that poor mom. Thanks, Tracy.
In Prince George's County this evening, you might remember this crash where 8 people were killed in a street race in Accokeek. Now, that stretch of Indian Head Highway, known for illegal racing for years. In fact, AAA says in just the last 10 years, 50 deadly crashes have happened along that road. And you can see here, this is a map that shows basically where we're talking about, and all the red gives you an indication of all the deadly crashes that have taken place. Now, as of today, a new plan is in place to try and stop the speeding and prevent these crashes. Tom Rousey's live in Fort Washington, Maryland. That's where a new speed camera was just put up. Tom?
Yeah, you know, Jonathan, the speed limit, a lot of folks don't follow it, but the speed limit on this section of Indian Head Highway, or 210, is 55 miles an hour. And for the first time right now, there is a speed camera right there that is going to ticket you if you go more than 12 miles an hour over that. But even folks who supported this say it's not enough. Since it's not in a school or construction zone, for years it was against Maryland law to have this speed camera here. But after the State General Assembly passed a bill to permit it, it finally started operating today. AAA says the long stretch of Indian Head Highway in Prince George's County saw nearly 50 fatal accidents over 10 years. Many say this camera is long overdue.
I'm in absolute favor of it. I think it's the best idea they have. Safety first.
But some drivers say there's a problem.
I think it's in the wrong place.
They say the really unsafe stuff doesn't happen right at Indian Head Highway's intersection with Old Fort Road.
The speeding is not there. It's not close to the red light.
Many fatal accidents have happened far away from here, including a decade ago when a car hit and killed 8 people watching an illegal drag race. Supporters originally pushed for 4 cameras instead of just 1.
There has been some unfortunate political maneuvering that reduced what originally was going to be 4 cameras down to the one you see.
But local politicians and residents say the fight for more cameras is not over.
We're going to see if we can expand on that in the next assembly, but it's a good start.
And we're told the tickets this gives out will be $40. Now, coming up at 6 o'clock, we talked to a man today who nearly died in an accident on Indian Head Highway, and his wife almost died as well. He's going to give his perspective, and in his opinion, a lot more needs to be done than just what's behind me here. Reporting live in Fort Washington in Prince George's County, I'm Tom Rousey, ABC 7 News.
Tom,
Tonight on News 4, a heartbreaking tragedy in Oxon Hill. 3 children are dead after a multi-vehicle crash on Indian Head Highway. You're looking at live pictures from the scene. The highway closed in both directions. Good evening. I'm Erica Gonzalez. The vehicles slammed into each other on Indian Head Highway at Wilson Bridge Drive. 3 children were killed, 2 adults injured. News 4's Nicole Jacobs just arrived on the scene. Nicole, what do we know? What have we learned tonight?
Erica, unfortunately, the deadly dangers of Indian Head Highway have sadly and tragically struck yet again. This time, children, 3 of them have died. You can see here behind me, both directions of Indian Head Highway are shut down as emergency crews continue to work this very intense and extensive scene. Just beyond those emergency vehicles are the vehicles that were actually involved in this crash. Again, the Prince George's County Fire Department confirming 3 children have died. 2 adults were transported to a trauma center. We don't know the ages of those involved in this crash. Based on social media updates from the fire department, those 3 children were trapped in the vehicle. The 2 adults were also trapped but extricated. The PIO from the fire department tweeting a short time ago, there are no words to describe this crash except to say it is a tragedy. Again, the cause is still unknown as well. Want to bring you back to live pictures here on Indian Head Highway just to give you a perspective of exactly where we are located. This is Route 210 in Oxon Hill at Wilson Bridge Drive. Again, unfortunately and tragically, 3 children have been killed, 2 adults taken to a local trauma center. The exact cause of this crash unknown. The ages of those unknown. Of course, when we learn more, we'll certainly bring it to you. Erica.
Nicole Jacobs live for us in Oxon Hill. Our hearts with all those involved in that. Nicole, thank you.
I should also say to you that no amount of enforcement will matter unless the community accepts its responsibility as well. We have to change the behavior of motorists who travel on this road. Simply stopping a motorist, putting out speed cameras, putting all of our resources through police cars and other things on this road will not have the intended effect unless everyone understands that they have a responsibility as well to slow down, to be more careful, to remember that it is our neighbors who are traveling on this road. It is our family members who are traveling on this road. As we go to work and come home, it's our loved ones who travel on this road. And so we all have a responsibility to change our conduct as we drive and travel on this road.
Since 2015, fatal collisions have been a front page issue for the Prince George's County Police Department. That's when we began tracking it the same way we track both property crime and violent crime, and we've had success. But the reality is, and the numbers are here, each year the aggregate number of accidents has remained largely the same, despite the fact that in the last 3 years we've gone from more than 3,600 traffic stops to 5,600 traffic stops to 2018 more than 6,400 traffic stops. And I want you to know that the men and women of the Prince George's County Police Department issued more than 10,000 citations in those 6,400 traffic stops, made more than 70 arrests, and yet we still have this level of collision, this level of tragedy, if we look back to the events of just last week.
Weiss, and I'm glad to see all of you here. We're all here to save lives. The tragic death of 3 children points out that you don't have to live here to be involved in a fatal crash on 210. But the people who live here, like me, and think 210 is our main street, take all the fatalities on Indian Head Highway very personally. The community of people who live around 210 have uniquely banded together, working with our government to reduce the risk of driving on what AAA says is the deadliest highway in the region. And we've made significant progress, but the effort must continue until we no longer have to come together like this to mourn additional deaths. Police are out in force. The state highway is changing the first of several intersections into interchanges and making near-term improvements to lighting and signs. Our legislators have approved the first speed camera, as has been mentioned, on a high-speed highway that's not in a work zone or speed zone. Our community is increasingly aware of the risks of irresponsible driving. We even have our middle school students involved in getting us to drive safely. But as been mentioned, we need to do more, and we need to do it faster. An already overburdened highway will get even more overburdened as the population in areas served by 210 dramatically increases. But there's no plan to increase 210 capacity by adding lanes. The current plan will improve failing road conditions, but only to approaching unstable flow conditions. There's not even funding for the remaining intersection upgrades. And it takes many years from the time we find funding until we see actual construction. The plan that we have removes traffic signals and increases the length of straightaways without signals. Speeding drivers will therefore be unimpeded by red lights. There's no single magic bullet to make Indian Head Highway safe, but I know that saving lives on 210 takes even more than construction and enforcement. It takes changing behavior. My behavior, your behavior. Our cars aren't failing. The highway doesn't crash into us. The police don't drive our cars. The laws can't stop us from doing dumb things. We need to be better drivers. It's going to take a long time for us to change, but with a great deal of effort over a generation, we've changed the behavior and decreased smoking and increased seatbelt use. It can be done. Behavior can be changed. We must make this same kind of sustained effort to save our children's lives. Thank you.
Well, whether it's the road itself or the drivers on it, everyone agrees something needs to change to make Route 210 in Prince George's County safer and more efficient. Today, county leaders sent a letter to the state asking for prioritized funding for construction. The highway is one of the deadliest and most congested throughout our region. Among the road's latest victims, 3 young children killed in December. Now, county officials are vowing to finally make that road safer.
Whether the state funds it or not, that we have to work with our colleagues in the General Assembly to make sure that we can move forward.
With today's letter, Indian Head Highway has now been bumped to the top of the county's transportation construction list for the very first time. But this is not the end. There are at least 7 intersections that need to be repaired, and to do that, the county is looking at an additional 30 years or more of construction. And that could cost as much as $500 million. New at 11 tonight, some major changes are coming to what's been called one of the most deadly roads in the entire country.
Yeah, we're talking about Route 210, also known as Indian Head Highway in Prince George's County. News 4's Jackie Benson joins us with the major update from Fort Washington.
It took a change to Maryland law, but 3 additional speed cameras are about to be added to this dangerous road in June. The proceeds go not to the county or the state, but to the Criminal Injury Compensation Fund. What's happening on Route 210 in Prince George's County will be remembered as the time a small, diverse group of residents came together to change a dangerous road some believed unchangeable, to try to solve a problem some believed unsolvable.
We stayed focused on the problem, and we stayed united together to solve the problem.
They showed up for meetings held in the evening after work, when most people would rather be home relaxing. They held police and elected officials and county and state traffic planners accountable. Yasmin Duncan lost her 24-year-old daughter, Samira Jenkins, in March of last year. She was killed crossing Route 210 to catch a bus on her way to a job interview.
I am humbled. I am thankful. My personal journey is to do whatever I can so that no other family ever experiences what myself and so many other families have gone through.
And after the additional speed cameras, there are still more changes to come. Rumble strips, improved lighting at intersections, and changes to make traffic signals more visible. In Fort Washington, Jackie Benson, News 4.
Welcome back. One of the most dangerous highways in our region is getting a huge safety upgrade. We've reported on the deadly crashes on Indian Head Highway. 66 people have died in the last 11 years. But as Georges County Bureau Chief Tracy Wilkins shows us, new speed cameras along a more than 10-mile stretch from Accokeek to the Beltway could help save lives.
Reverend Dr. Robert Screen helps people through their hardest times along Route 210.
I've run into accidents when I'm pulling out my vest and going as a clergy member to an accident scene.
When he's not working on the highway, he's at the hospital hoping to comfort the injured and those who have lost loved ones to this road.
This is the most dangerous area for traffic fatalities in the state of Maryland.
He's lived here more than 40 years and remembers each fatal crash along 210 with photographic detail, like the crash at this very spot in 2008.
There were 8 people that were killed in one particular accident.
It was due to drag racing and the beginning of a nasty trend.
Well, since that time, we've had 2 additional accidents that have occurred not 50 yards from this spot, right in the intersection here at Pine Drive.
Then there were the 3 children who were killed on New Year's Eve of last year, just a few miles north of here.
All of them are bad, but when you have children who haven't even got a start in life, to lose them and all in one incident, that was terrible. That was really something that took the wind out of all of us.
For 14 years, Screen has worked with neighbors to make this road safer. And this Saturday, that change is coming with 3 roving speed cameras that will operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll move from location to location along 210. They're the first of their kind made possible through state legislation.
It's been a long trek. It's been many people have been lost along the way, but we're doing the best that we can to try to change some behavior.
The roving cameras are expected to be in place by this Saturday and then up and running shortly after that. In Accokeek, I'm Tracy Wilkins, News 4.
The News 4 I-team has been looking into the wrecks on Indian Head Highway. They discovered that nearly all drunken drivers who caused crashes on the roadway over the past 3 years avoided jail sentences. To see Scott McFarland's report, open our NBC Washington app and search Indian Head Highway.
Concerned citizens and several families who lost loved ones in crashes along a notorious stretch of road in Maryland came together to dedicate new speed cameras in their honor. A total of 3 roving speed cameras will be installed in coming weeks along Maryland Route 210, commonly known as Indian Head Highway. Crashes along that road have taken the lives of 60 people since 2007, and it's the scene of at least one traffic accident a day. Fox 5's Anjali Hemphill has more.
These white doves released into the air served as a tribute and reminder of the dozens of lives lost along one of the most dangerous roadways in the D.C. area.
The accident happened in 2005. I've not recovered. Javon's life was taken away at the age of 21. And I can say he's the greatest athlete I've ever coached.
66 people have died in crashes on Maryland Route 210 Indian Head Highway since 2007, including 5-year-old twins and their 13-month-old brother who did not survive a violent rear-end collision on December 30th, caused by a suspected drunk driver. But as of June 1st, a new law, HB 187, will allow roving speed cameras along this busy road in an effort to save lives.
But when you drive past a speed camera and you slow down just to speed up once you get out of range, that means you haven't really changed the way you feel about safety. We want you to change the way you feel about driving safety.
The issue of speed cameras was not a popular idea. To this day is still not. But I don't say that this is the answer or the final answer to the end of destruction on the highway of death, as many of you may know that 210 is known for, but it is a beginning.
Meanwhile, police enforcement has also been stepped up, resulting in more than 9,000 citations handed out over the last 2 years. A step in the right direction for those hoping for drastic change.
I live within 5 miles of this road, and I think of Javon every time I travel on it. So I seek to avoid it. And now that I know that we have legislation in place and speed cameras, maybe it's time to take back part of my community.
These roving speed cameras will go in along a 13-mile stretch from the Beltway to Charles County. 1 went in last year. 2 more are being installed this month.
It's known as one of the most dangerous local roads. Indian Head Highway has been the scene of some serious crashes, and officials tell us that's in large part due to speed. While the number of speeders has dropped, the speeding itself can be excessive. One person was even clocked doing 149 miles an hour this year. News 4's Darcy Spencer looks at what's being done to get people to slow down.
Indian Head Highway, it's infamous for high speeds and traffic fatalities. 3 children died in a multi-vehicle crash on the highway in Oxon Hill. That was in December of 2018.
Especially like drag racing, I've heard. I live right off the highway, so I hear it at night.
Safety advocates say things are getting better because of these speed cameras. But there are more super speeders who don't seem to care about the cameras or the fine.
On an average month, we're getting somewhere between 40 and 50 and above people that go over 100 miles per hour.
Robert Screen is with the 210 Traffic Safety Committee. The committee found the highest speed captured on a traffic camera on Indian Head Highway this year is 149 miles per hour. That's compared to 161 last year.
Problem with those high speeds, if they hit anyone or someone hits them, it's going to be instant fatality.
So if you get a ticket from one of these speed cameras, you get hit with a $40 fine. That's whether you're going 70 miles an hour or 170 miles an hour. And some safety advocates say that has got to change. Those advocates say the fine should depend on how fast you're going and be more in line with citations you'd get if you were pulled over by police. So super speeders might get a super fine.
Somebody going 25 miles per hour over the speed limit or any other kind of egregious speed, they need to be able to feel the bite from that fine.
Drivers we spoke to say the threat of a bigger fine would be the ticket to getting drivers to slow down.
Maybe if people had to pay more, they would pay attention. You know, the best way to get to someone is their pockets.
The safety committee is working with community groups and lawmakers to come up with legislation to give super speeders a choice. Either slow down or pay hundreds of dollars in fines. Darcy Spencer, News 4.
We have some alarming new numbers just into CNN. U.S. traffic deaths surging amid an increase in reckless driving during the pandemic, setting the fastest pace from January to September ever recorded. CNN's Pete Muntean is live for us in Fort Washington, Maryland, with more. What is the trend that we're seeing here, Pete?
Well, Brianna, locals call this the highway of death. 2 fatal crashes here in as many weeks. And the sad truth is you probably know a spot like this where you live. And now the federal government has a new plan to combat this nationwide problem. Safety advocates call it an epidemic on our roads. This past Saturday alone, this head-on crash near Fresno killed 5. 4 more died in this fiery wreck on I-75 near Atlanta. And last month in Las Vegas, 9 people were killed when police say a driver apparently ran a red light.
This is an unfathomable tragedy that has forever altered the lives of so many people.
New numbers from the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration show in the first 9 months of 2021, fatal crashes jumped by 12%, the biggest increase in the agency's history. More than 31,000 people were killed in car crashes. The numbers show that speeding and driving without a seatbelt has gone up during the pandemic.
This is a national crisis.
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg just unveiled the Biden administration's plan to make driving safer. Billions from the bipartisan infrastructure law to help counteract for human error behind the wheel.
People make mistakes, but human mistakes don't always have to be lethal.
It's very tough.
It was March 17, 2000, when Cynthia Jones's sister Karen pulled over to fix her gas cap when she was hit by a drunk driver. Cynthia identified her sister's body.
She would want me out here to make a difference in saving more lives because she didn't have to go that way.
The crash happened here on Indian Head Highway in Maryland. Last year, the highest recorded speed here was 149 miles per hour. Safety advocates call it the highway of death.
It's straight shot and a few traffic lights, and people use it as a raceway. If you want to speed, this is the place to do it.
Some of the money from the DOT's new National Roadway Safety Strategy will go to redesigning dangerous roads in hopes of suppressing crash numbers that were going down until now.
People should be outraged.
National Transportation Safety Board Chair Jennifer Homendy was herself rear-ended at a Virginia intersection last year. Her agency has recommended that automakers install automatic braking and collision warnings in all cars, but regulators have not yet acted.
So we have to change. We need all stakeholders to come to the table, and we need to build in redundancy so that people survive crashes.
Both vehicles went up in flames.
Reverend Dr. James Screen says 80 people have been killed on this stretch of Indian Head Highway in the last 15 years. He says directing more federal funding to combat dangerous driving is only the start of a road to lasting change. It's got to be hard to see. I mean, you're doing this interview and people are whizzing by you.
Yes, that's a part of the indifference that people have about driving. As I say, this contentious type of entitlement mindset. You know, I do as I please, whatever I can get away with. And so we have to hit that head on in some type of way where it won't be all people, but at least most people, where we can manage it in a better way than what we're doing now.
If you think this problem is going away, think again. The NTSB points out that driving miles on average are going up as more people are going back to commuting.
Here in the state of Maryland, they're averaging 1 fatal accident statewide for every day of 2022. Brianna.
Yeah, too many. Pete Muntean, thank you.
Now from the rails to the roads, a dangerous situation where it's a highway that many of you have driven. Tonight, the News 4i team is digging into the effectiveness of the Maryland Route 210 speed camera enforcement program in Prince George's County.
It's supposed to mail citations to speeders, but the I-team found some of the roadway's fastest drivers are breaking the law with no consequences, raising questions from the community and from police about why the cameras aren't catching the culprits. Investigative reporter Tracy Wilkins has our story.
They call Route 210 the highway of death. And deadly scenes like this are why. Police say speeds exceeding 160 miles per hour happen on this 55-mile-per-hour road.
We don't want anybody to die on this road.
It's why Ron Weiss and others who live here fought years for automated speed cameras on Route 210. In 2019, state lawmakers approved 3 mobile cameras, among the first in Maryland, to be on a state highway in a non-construction zone.
It's working.
But Ron says there's a problem.
It's just not working on the really bad drivers.
The News 4i team obtained reports prepared late last year by the Prince George's County Police Department's Automated Enforcement Division. It expressed concerns, including why the vendor was at one point, quote, struggling to provide data every month. The report went on to say the vendor, New Jersey-based Conduit, has not fully addressed what appears to be a consistency problem in the data and produced 0 citations for speeds greater than 89 miles per hour. The bottom line is data suggests the faster you go, the less likely you are to get a ticket on 210. The I-team analyzed data between April and October of 2022 and found that only 41% of photographed speeders were issued actual citations.
It's still bad, and we still don't know what the problem is with the cameras.
Former AAA spokesman John Townsend said while studies show the mere presence of cameras has proven to reduce overall speeding, he was surprised so many potential citations are being tossed.
Why would the contractor, who's in it for the money, give up that kind of revenue?
But he had one idea for what may be going wrong.
If you have a multi-lane road and you have multiple cars in the photograph, sometimes you cannot tell who the culprit is.
What's more important? Is it getting the actual citation, or is it just having the cameras here to deter behavior?
So the most important thing is to have the camera. But when you have anomalies in the system where drivers are going 140 miles per hour and they're not ticketed, that shows a lack of confidence in the data.
We took these concerns about the cameras to the vendor who operates them, but the vendor declined to comment and referred us to the county. The Prince George's County Police Department declined to go on camera, but in a statement said the ultimate goal of the program is to reduce speed on Route 210 and that it's meeting that goal because the data has shown a reduction in speed where the cameras have been deployed. The I-team wanted to know how other speed enforcement programs in our region are catching the worst offenders.
Our highest clock speed was 173 miles per hour.
And there was more where that came from on I-83 in Baltimore, where the city unveiled a speed camera program last year. But instead of mobile cameras along the road, they have 2 fixed cameras mounted high above traffic, something Baltimore DOT Interim Director Corinne Johnson says was necessary for I-83's design.
It's most definitely having the impact that we hoped. We are seeing people slowing down.
And speeders are getting caught. Johnson told the I-team the program has a citation issuance rate of 97%.
We're constantly monitoring both the speed sentries, the cameras, immediately addressing any type of issues that might occur to ensure that we're getting that consistent rate accomplished.
Baltimore's cameras are operated by a different vendor than Route 210. That vendor verified the 97% number to the I-team. Johnson said while the cameras themselves are a deterrent, so is following through with citations.
People know they can drive through there and get citations, but they're thrown out. Then you're not really concerned about it hitting your pocket and making it personal.
For Ron, the success of the speed camera program on 210 feels personal too.
If we don't fix this problem, more people are going to die.
Prince George's County Police did not respond to our questions about why only 40% of those speeding events have resulted in citations, or if they've addressed why no speeders going above 89 miles per hour were cited. They did, however, refer us to the Prince George's County Revenue Authority that oversees the program. The authority has not yet provided the information we requested. Tracy Wilkins, News 4 I-Team.
Now, in a statement, Prince George's County Police told News 4 the speed camera program could have a bigger impact if they were allowed to use more cameras. That could happen, as the General Assembly is now considering two pieces of legislation involving Route 210. One piece would increase the number of cameras, and the other would escalate fines, which are now just $40 for recidivist speeders.
Indian Head Highway may soon lose the speed cameras that some credit with making it at least a little bit safer. As Maryland Bureau Chief Brad Bell explains, one of those cameras clocked a driver going 168 in a 55 zone.
Indian Head Highway has a well-earned and very bad reputation.
You go down the Indian Head Highway, take your life in your hands. People don't believe in speed limits or stop signs.
The speeding is just unbelievable.
Just last year, 10 people died in crashes here.
It's the deadliest highway in the area. You know, we need to do something to slow people down and to get these reckless speeders to change their behavior or get them off the road.
Activist Ron Weiss is among those who convinced state lawmakers 3 years ago to allow police to set up 3 speed cameras here along the highway, even though they aren't in school or construction zones as Maryland law generally requires. But it was only for a 3-year trial period. That ends this September. Now, Weiss wants the cameras to remain.
This is our main street, and we don't want to die going shopping.
So today, Weiss testified before a House of Delegates committee in support of 2 bills that would allow a total of 10 speed cameras along the 14 miles of Indian Head Highway and create a schedule of fines starting at $40, increasing to $530 for those caught going 52 over the limit and up to $350 for repeat offenders. Some in Charles County have complained it amounts to a toll on the busy commuter route. Weiss rejects that argument.
It only hurts people who speed.
Delegate Chris Valderrama, who is sponsoring this legislation, tells me she expects opposition both to the number of proposed cameras and those escalating fines, but she is hopeful that something will pass and the cameras will stay. In Fort Washington, Brad Bell, 7 News.